Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to write a play-by-play summary. So that is a strategy that you can use to write any of your research summaries. So to do that, we're going to be using an outline from the Module 1.2.4 discussion board. I'm going to start by showing you where to find that outline and downloading it, and then I will go through step by step how to fill out the outline, how to transfer it to a Word document, and then I'll walk you through a little bit of the revision process. So the first thing you're going to need to do is log into your Canvas. Remember, it's onramps.instructure.com, and then we're going to go into the high school course. Because we're looking for a module, you want to click on the Modules tab and scroll until you find Module 1.2.4 Play-by-Play Summaries. Go ahead and click that. And I recommend you take a second to read through the module to get a little bit of a refresher. But the quickest rundown of this is a play-by-play summary goes in order. It talks about each step in the article. So it starts with the introduction, and then it breaks the article down into sections, and it goes through those sections in order. So to get the outline that's going to help you break down your chosen article and make an outline of your summary, if you scroll to the bottom of the module, there's going to be a class activity, and it'll say practice summarizing by participating in the play-by-play summary discussion forum. Go ahead and click that link so that it takes you to the discussion forum. Now you do not need to make a new discussion post this week. All I want you to do is to get the printable worksheet that is here. So to get the worksheet, you would just click where it says for printable worksheet, click here, click the here, so that it downloads the Word document onto your computer, your phone, or your tablet. And then once it's downloaded, you'll go ahead and click it so that it opens. Once it's open, your Word document will look like this. It'll open in protected view. So in order for you to be able to type in the document, you want to make sure that you click Enable Editing. So I'm going to go ahead and click Enable Editing. And it's going to let me now type in the document. So let's start with the steps. It says, take your own article and go through the following steps. Step 1 is to highlight or underline using different colors the article's major sections. So for this, it's going to require you to read through your article and try to determine where does the author switch between ideas. So I'm going to start with step 1, and I'm actually going to be using the article from module 1.2.4, the very first research summary that we wrote where everyone wrote on the same article. I'm going to be doing this tutorial with that article. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, my whole screen. So this is the article. It was called An Urgent Time for a Year Off of Campus. So what I would need to do is I would need to read through the article and try to determine where the author transitions between ideas and break the article into sections. So I've already gone ahead and done that. So let me open up my broken down version. So here's my broken down version of the document. So you can see I went through the article and I highlighted each section in a different color. I also annotated for myself at the end of each section so I would remember the section numbers. So all I did to add this annotation is I inserted a comment. So if you've never inserted a comment before, I'm going to show you really quick how to do that. I'm going to just resolve my comment so that it goes away. I don't think I can delete it. But so what you do is you highlight or you select with your mouse where you want to insert a comment, and then you go to the Insert tab, and then you'll click on Comment. And it'll open up a little dialog box for you, so then I could just type in section 1. So when I read through and broke down this article, I found that there were a total of 5 different sections. So you can see I highlighted each section in a different color. So once you've read through your article and you've highlighted and broken it down into sections, then we can come back to our outline because we've completed step 1. So if you want, you should take a second to pause the video right here and read through your article and highlight and break it down into sections before you move on. When you're ready, go ahead and press play. I'm going to go ahead and continue. So step 2 asks you to write 1 or 2 sentence summaries of each section. So for this, what I recommend doing is rereading each section. So you read the article through once and you broke it into sections. Now you're going to reread each section a little more meaningfully to try to summarize it. This will help those of you who have been struggling to read the article more than once, right? The biggest problem that I've been hearing people say is, I need to read the article multiple times. If you break the summary process down this way, it'll force you to read it more than once. You'll have to read it to find the sections, and then you'll have to go back and reread each section to summarize it. So what I would do here is I would come over to my article and I would start with section 1 and I would reread it to myself. So it says, American higher education has coped with major international emergencies before. During World War II, students left in droves to enlist and then returned after the war, eager to resume their formal schooling. In 1947, nearly half of all admitted college students were veterans. The United States is now suffering through another crisis of enormous magnitude. Congress has already passed the $2 trillion in relief and is considering more. And yet, colleges and universities from coast to coast appear bent on muddling through. That is, either by reopening their campus despite the dangers or by patching together enough online offerings to put on a facsimile of a fall semester. Facsimile? This is a dismal choice. What colleges and federal governments should acknowledge is that for many students, neither option makes sense. Given the nature and scale of the crisis facing the country, college students should be strongly urged to take a break from full-time study and devote the next year to national service with online courses playing a cameo role. So now that I've reread my first section, I want to come back to my outline and I want to summarize it in my own words in 1 or 2 sentences. So the mistake that I've seen a lot of people make is you've been literally taking like sentences from the author and just sticking them into your summary. So what I want you to do here is really, really try to put it in your own words. Try to simplify the summary a bit. So I've already gone ahead and done that. Let me just grab my completed outline. So here you can see my summary of section 1. So I wrote, in the first section, Shell talks about how American higher education has dealt with crisis in the past. She mentions World War II, then talks about how the U.S. is suffering now from COVID-19 and the relief money that has been passed. She explains that despite the relief money, colleges are being forced to decide whether to open in person or online. So I've put what she talked about in section 1 into my own words in 1 or 2 sentences, right? I tried to water it down a bit, but I stayed really close to her original ideas. So I recommend taking another minute to pause the video here, and now I want you to go through and read each section and come over and write your summaries in a couple sentences, trying to stay as close to the author's original ideas as possible without stealing their words, right? You want to put it in your own words. And then when you're ready, go ahead and press play, and I'm going to talk to you about the next step that you will do after you have gone through each section and written a summary. So once you're done with your summaries, we're going to scroll down here to the bottom. There are some extra steps. So step 3 says, below, write a 1 or 2 sentence introduction of the author and the author's main idea. So in this step, this is where you're going to have to go through and research who is the author. So the author of this article was Ellen Ruppelshell. So if you noticed, there was a link in the Word document that you could click, and it would take you to the original article. So let's start there. So it takes you to a little bit about Ellen, or Shell. So it says, Ellen Ripple Shell is a professor of journalism at Boston University. She is the author of The Job, Work, and Its Future in a Time of Radical Change. So I've got a little bit about her. She's a journalism professor at the University of Boston. All right. So then the next thing you could do if you want a little bit more is try doing a quick Google search for the author. And so then I can see a little bit of a bio comes up about her. And I can tell that it matches because it says Professor of Journalism. And so I can click it and I can read through and try to determine who is Ellen Ripple Shell. So it gives me a little bit more about her. So the biggest mistake that students make in this step is they copy paste the sentences exactly as they see them in the author's bio. And in doing so, you risk getting flagged for plagiarism. So what you want to do is read it and again, summarize it in your own words. So I already went ahead and read Miss Shell's bio. I'll go ahead and read a couple sentences to you. It says, Ellen Ripple Shell, longtime contributing editor for The Atlantic, writes and has written on issues of science, social justice, economics, and public policy for Science, Scientific American, the New York Times Opinion, and Book Pages, the Los Angeles Times, The Guardian, Discover, the New York Times Magazine, the Boston Globe, and the Washington Post. She has served as an editor for a wide range of national publications for public broadcasting and is sought frequently as a commenter on issues of science and the press. So overall, I can kind of gather that she's a writer. She writes for a lot of big newspapers. And then also over here, it tells me that she's a professor of journalism, and we know that that's at Boston University. So I'm going to go ahead and go back over to my Word documents and show you how I put that in my own words. So I took that bio and I put it into one simple sentence, and I put, Ellen Ripple Shell is a Boston University journalism professor who also writes articles for The Atlantic. And I realize she writes for other big newspapers, so I should actually tack that in and put, and other well-known news sources in the US. So there, I've gotten a pretty clear bio on who she is. So I've completed the first half of this question, which is introduce the author. Now I need to introduce the author's main idea. So the main idea of this article was that she was arguing that students shouldn't have to go back to online classes in the fall, that it's going to be inadequate. And so instead, universities should develop a program, call it Corona Core, and let let students get work experience helping their communities in their chosen field and earn credit at the same time. So I needed to just summarize that in my own words. So I put, her main claim is that institutes of higher education or colleges should develop a program that will let students help their community in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in order to gain job experience and have a meaningful semester in place of online or hybrid learning. So I summarized the overall principal claim in one sentence. And you're probably thinking to yourself, oh my God, she did that so quickly. I'd like to let you all know that preparing for this video actually took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I had to reread the article several times. Like the first time I don't know where the sections start and end. So I had to reread it quite a few times. And then it took me a long time to sit here and write this. So I had everything pre-made before I filmed the video. The actual process itself took me a while. So it's okay if it also takes you a while to get this part done. But what I want you to do now is, again, go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to work on introducing the writer and summarizing the principal claim of the article that you chose in a couple sentences. When you're ready, go ahead and press play, and we're going to keep going. So now that you're back, we're going to go ahead and move into step 4. And so step 4 says to copy your one-sentence summaries of the article's major parts together, inserting number words to show the reader what comes first, second, and third. I kind of already did that when I wrote it to save myself some time, so I put in section 5, in section 4. I labeled it, but what I need to do is I need to open a Word document and I need to copy paste those summaries over. So in step 4, this is where you're going to want to open a new document so that you can copy paste your section. So I've already gone ahead and set up my document, but remember what you need to do is you need to set up your heading and you need to create your MLA citation. I'm not going to be going over that in this video because you have that MLA independent work in the week 4 folder that'll show you how to create the MLA citations. I'm also not going to go over formatting, but if you have formatting questions and you don't remember how to format, I did put a video on how to format a Word document in our week 4 homework help videos. The very first video will show you how to go ahead and format your document so that it looks like this. But I've already gone ahead and set up my page. So the next thing I need to do is I literally just need to copy paste my one sentence summaries over in order. So I would come over here to my outline. I would select my summary, right click, copy, switch to my brand new Word document, and then I would right click and paste. And there's my section. So I've actually gone ahead and I have a document where I've already copied everything over. So here you can see I've already copied over all of my summaries. That's just how they look. So then once you've copied them over, go ahead and check out step 5. So step 5 is going to have you revise your summary, trying to think of different transition words to replace the number words, or give your summary to a classmate and have them revise. So for now, you're going to revise on your own. Try to make your summary look as nice as possible, and then we're going to be doing peer reviewing this upcoming week, meaning you'll be trading your summary with someone anyway to get their feedback. But once you've copy pasted everything over, I want you to go back to the assignment in Canvas. So we're working on Research Summary 3. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the module for Research Summary 3 so that I can make sure that I hit all of the requirements for the summary. So it's in Module 2.3.2. Once you get to this page, you'll click on the prompt. And we want to go to specific expectations so that I can double check what are the 3 things that I need to do in my play-by-play summary. So it says, introduce the controversy and give background information that the reader will need to understand why people are debating this question. So if I come over to my Word document, I need to do that before my summary, before I start my summary. So I want to hit enter so that I can add some space. And here's where I want to insert my background information. And so that's where you want to talk about, like, what is the big picture of the controversy that your author is talking about. So again, I've already gone ahead and done this. All right, so I've already gone ahead and added this in. So here's my background information. So to talk about this article, what I needed to talk about was, what is the coronavirus? How is it impacting the United States right now? And how does that lead into the discussion about schools reopening? So I just used my own knowledge. Like, this is literally just everything that I already know. But if you don't know a lot of background information about your topic, that's where it's okay to do a little bit of extra research. Summarize what you find, and you would include an extra summary. All the way at the bottom, you would create a new works cited page. Again, refer to your MLA independent work, but you would create a new works cited page and insert a citation for the article where you got your background information from to avoid getting flagged for plagiarism. But I didn't have to do that. because this is literally just my own personal knowledge of COVID-19. So I put, COVID-19 is a pandemic that is currently affecting hundreds of thousands of people worldwide, and the United States is currently in the middle of a battle against this illness. As a result, we are expected to socially distance, stay home unless it's essential to leave, wear a mask in public, and follow basic health guidelines. Because of this, reopening schools this fall has been a huge challenge because schools don't seem to have the space, people, or supplies to keep students safe from COVID-19. So I've given my background information, so I can check that off. I kept it short and sweet. That's about 3 sentences. So I'm going to come back over to my expectations. Well, actually, why don't you take a second, pause the video, go ahead and write your introductory paragraph where you give the background information. And when you're ready to move on to the next step, go ahead and press play, and I will be ready for you. But I'm going to go ahead and move into talking about the next expectation. And the next expectation is that you introduce the writer and explain why this person is a stakeholder in the controversy. If necessary, introduce other stakeholders and explain how this writer and their viewpoints relates to these stakeholders. So in this case, that's where your outline is going to be important. You want to come back to your original outline and go back to number 3, where you wrote about the author and you summarized their main idea. What you would want to do is now you would want to copy this and paste it underneath your background information. I've already gone ahead and done that, and I revised it. So let me show you my original, and then I'll read you my revised so that you can see what that looked like. So again, here was my original summary of who the author is and her main idea. I wrote, Ellen Ripple-Shell is a Boston University journalism professor who also writes articles for The Atlantic and other well-known news sources in the US. Her main claim is that institutes of higher education or colleges should develop a program that will let students help their community in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in order to gain job experience and have a meaningful semester in place of online or hybrid learning. So I copied that over here and I revised it to make it look a little more professional. I introduced the title of the article and I kind of broke it up a little bit better. I think I switched and I introduced the argument first and then I introduced who the author is and why she's a stakeholder. So I revised that to say, in the article, An Urgent Time for a Year Off Campus, Ellen Ripple-Shell argues that institutes of higher education, or colleges, should develop a program that will let students help their community in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in order to gain job experience and have a meaningful semester in place of online or hybrid learning. Ellen Ripple-Shell is a Boston University journalism professor who also writes articles for The Atlantic. She is a stakeholder in this controversy because, as a university professor, she will be responsible for caring for her students this year in face of COVID-19 and implement whatever procedures the university she works at puts into place. So I had to add in this statement, kind of drawing my own conclusion about what makes her a stakeholder. Just a reminder, again, a stakeholder is someone who is directly impacted by the outcome of the controversy or who has the power to influence the outcome. So go ahead and take a minute, pause the video, copy and paste over your number 3 about your author and their main idea. Go ahead and take some time to revise that paragraph. Once you're done, go ahead and press play and I will get started on the next step. So the next step from here is I've added in 2 paragraphs, and if I check my page length, I'm over, right? I'm at 2 pages. So once you've done that, I recommend now is the time to reformat the rest of your paper. Because if you remember, we have to use a 12-inch font, Times New Roman, and your pages need to be single-spaced. So I'm going to go ahead and reformat this so that I can see what my actual page length is and how much work I need to put into revising my other summaries. So to do that, you want to select everything. I'm just going to select the whole document. I first want to set my font to Times New Roman. Again, I'm going to go quick because I have a tutorial on this already posted. I want my font size to be 12. And then I want to make it single spaced. So I need to right click, go to paragraph, go to spacing, line spacing, click my drop down, select single, and check this box, and then click OK. So now I have have a single space summary. Oh, I missed a section. Whoops. Let me do that again real quick. All right, so now I can see I almost have a page, but not quite. So the first thing I need to do is I'm gonna put tabs so that I can see where my paragraphs are. It'll help me when I go back to revise my sections. All right, so go ahead and pause, take a second, format your document so that you can see how much space you have, and then press play when you're ready to move into the revision process. So now I'm going to be talking to you about the revision process. We're going to talk about how do I revise these summaries, right? Because right now, currently, they're just my short, simple summaries about each section. So what you want to do here is this is where you can go back, clean up your sentences, and add in any quotes to kind of help support what you got from the original document. So if I read you, I'm going to go ahead and read you my first two original summaries, and then I'm going to read you my revised version of these summaries. So I have originally written, let me go ahead and highlight this in a different color so that you can see what I'm reading. I have here written, in the first section, Shell talks about how American higher education has dealt with crisis in the past. She mentions World War II, then talks about how the US is suffering now from COVID-19 and the relief money that has been passed. She explains that despite the relief money, colleges are being forced to decide whether to open in person or online. In section 2, Shell talks about the solutions she thinks colleges should implement, developing Corona Core. She explains that Corona Core would be a program where students could enroll in school, but gain work experience by doing things to help in the community. She gives evidence about why this would work by comparing Corona Core to the AmeriCorps. So, everything I have here is pretty basic. So I'm going to go ahead and open my document where I've already gone ahead and revised my summaries so I can show you the changes that I made. All right, so here's my revised document. I am going to be uploading all of these documents into Schoology, so that's why you see this part where it says unrevised sections, so that when I upload it, you can see the difference between the paragraphs that I have revised versus the paragraphs that I have not revised. So I'm going to go ahead and read you now my revised summaries for section 1 and 2. So here I wrote, instead of saying in section 1, I wrote, Shell opens her argument by talking about how American higher education has dealt with crisis in the past. She mentions how college students couldn't go to school during World War II because they were helping in the war effort. She then talks about how the U.S. is now suffering from COVID-19 and the $2 trillion in relief money that has been passed to help. She explains that despite the relief money, colleges are being forced to decide whether to open in person or online. So if you notice, I've paraphrased a lot of what section 1 actually said. So because of that, because I'm paraphrasing, I needed to insert an in-text citation to give credit where credit is due. So I went ahead and inserted my in-text citation there. Then I move on to my summary of section 2. So you can see, instead of saying in section 2, I added in a transition. And so I wrote, after explaining the current crisis, Shell then talks about the solution she thinks colleges should implement, developing Corona Core. She explains that Corona Core and I still have an error, that's one word. She explains that Corona Core would be a program where students could enroll in school, but gain work experience by doing things to help in the community. She gives evidence about why this would work by comparing Corona Core to the AmeriCorps program, a program, quote, program founded during the Clinton administration that offers stipends that can be applied toward tuition or directly to students, end quote. So I just went ahead and I added in a quote that wasn't in my original summary to kind of support what AmeriCorps was and put it in the author's words. I included her explanation of what AmeriCorps is. All right, so that's how I've started my revision. What I would need to do now is I would need to continue my revision process because I'm not done. I still have 3 more paragraphs to revise. And if you notice, I actually don't have a lot of space now to do this, right? And it's because using that outline set me up for success. Taking a second to sit down and write those 1 or 2 sentence summaries in my own words already gave me almost a full page. So now, this is the end of the video. So what you need to do now that you've copied everything over into your Word doc is take some time revising these sentences, right? Revise this original draft that you get from the outline. Try to insert some transition words. Try to look at where you can insert a couple quotes to help support your summary, and then you'll be good to go. Just one quick tip on quoting. In a summary like this that's only 1 page long, you want to try to keep yourself limited to 2 to 3 quotes in the entire page. So if when you're done, you notice every paragraph has like 2 or 3 quotes in it, you've quoted way too much and you need to revise one more time so that you can cut it down to be more of your own original writing with quotes inserted to support what you're saying rather than a summary full of quotes with a little bit of your writing. That's not what you want to aim for. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me via Remind or send me a Schoology message. Or as a last resort, send me an email from your school email. But Remind is fastest, Schoology email is faster. Your student email is the slowest, okay? Good luck with your play-by-play summaries. I look forward to reading them next week. I know you're all going to do great. And don't forget, this research summary 3 is due this Sunday, September 13th by 11:59 p.m.